So you admit to shooting your commanding officer under the direction of a Russian agent, is that correct? So unless you have something else significant to share with us, Sergeant, this investigation is over. You have been played. It's the Russians.
Oh, it's Solomon. Haven't you listened to anything I've been saying?
You want us to believe that there's a PLR threat and Solomon's at the head?
Yes.
To believe that you acted in the best interests of our nation when you let a Russian agent go and shot your own man. But we can't. Nothing can be corroborated.
This is insane.
No one can verify the third nuke even exists.
The bank collapsed. Al-Bashir's dead. Your unit is dead. Dima's presumed dead. Kaffarov's dead. 80,000 French people are actually dead.
Those are all your witnesses, Sergeant.
The only thing we can say happened for sure is you fragged your CO.
Bring him in.
You saw this man shoot his commanding officer, right?
Just knock off the bullshit, Sergeant. Didn't Dima set you up? Didn't he talk you into shooting Cole and then escape to Paris where he triggered the nuke? Wasn't that Dima?
Solomon has the nuke.
Solomon is one of ours. He is an overseas asset, and he has been for years. We put him next to al-Bashir for information.
You are shitting me. He's a murderer. You saw the video.
Well, you get the good with the bad when it comes to assets, and sometimes sacrifices must be made for the greater good.
Isn't that your angle?
Jesus Christ. The nuke is still out there. Solomon's still out there. You can't just walk away from the threat.
You might be right, Sergeant. Maybe Solomon was too close to the fire, but I assure you we are on top of this situation. The Russians are a clear and present threat. Yes. What do you mean you lost a train?
Solomon was using the PLR.
He is an overseas asset, and he has been for years.
He used me, and he uses everyone. He said, get the bombs.
80,000 dead.
We can avert war between our nations.
Well, the blast yield matches Russian suitcase nuke specs.
We've secured what appears to be a WMD.
Wait, there's room for two more.
How many portable nuclear devices did you see in the bank vault?
Where the hell are the other two?
The 14th of this month,
We got maps of Paris, New York.
He's using public transit to move the weapons.
Suleiman will strike.
The train map inside the bank vault. What was the time written on it?
6:02. Why?
Dave, you trust me?
Oh, yeah.
All right. Follow my lead.
Hope you've all had a Merry Christmas. If given the choice, I would have liked to do a Christmas greeting message dealing with the birth of Jesus, but I want to do this gaming vlog basically in light of the events that happened in Melbourne on Christmas Eve. For those who don't know, 7 people were arrested during overnight raids throughout Melbourne over the alleged plot to commit a terrorist attack, most likely a bombing, in the heart of Melbourne City on Christmas Day, which police was said by Islamic State, or ISIS. First of all, I have to take my hat off to both the Victorian Police and ASIO for preventing such an attack from happening. Christmas time in the heart of Melbourne, it would have been a bloodbath, so thank God nothing happened. Will there be future terror plots on Australian soil? I say it's inevitable that will happen in 2017. But anyway, I'm making this vid using Battlefield 3 as a backdrop to address something I feel is missing whenever we see acts of terrorism being committed by so-called Islamic radicalists or jihadists. When we see something like September 11, the Lindt Cafe siege in Sydney, or the attacks in Paris, or even when what ISIS has been doing in Syria, the public response from the Muslim community is to draw the line between so-called moderates versus extremists. The moderates will affirm multiculturalism and say that the extremists are perverting Islam, taking a religion of peace, and turning it into a political holy war. That's all well and noble on its own, but I dare say that such is at best sentimental. The question that remains unanswered is, on what basis do the moderates have for saying that the extremists are indeed perverting Islam into something it shouldn't be? Furthermore, why aren't we seeing the top Islamic scholars being interviewed by the media so they can demonstrate how and why the way in which the extremists interpret the Quran is faulty, if that's indeed the case? When the media talks about the de-radicalization of arrested terror suspects, I'm curious to know what's actually involved. Do the police contact the local imam to try to convince the extremists that their reading of the Quran is inaccurate, as is their belief that Islam requires violence? Now, some of you may be thinking, but Ben, that's a bit hypocritical because you're a Christian and the Bible as well as the Christian faith have both been misused by those who want to do violence in the name of Christianity and religion. After all, doesn't the Bible itself contain instructions calling God's people to war and violence? I won't say that it doesn't, but hear me out. Here's the difference. I read the Bible based on its historical and grammatical context, and I do plan on releasing a vid that deals with the basics of that. So when a fanatical group uses a proof text from the Bible to justify their actions, I can actually point to the Bible and say, well, here's the actual context. All of those occasions when God called the Israelites to war, whether it be the Israelites taking control of the land of Canaan, King David's campaigns against the Philistines, all of those happened within a specific time and place as one-off events. And you would be hard-pressed to find an example in the Bible where God calls the Israelites or the Christians to acts of violence without set parameters. Now, that's what's called hermeneutics, the science of interpretation. That being said, what I want to ask my Muslim friends is, if I were to read the Quran the way I, as a Christian, read the Bible based on historical context, which camp would I land in? Moderate or extremist? That is, if I were to take the passages moderates appeal to call for peace, and also take the passages the extremists use to call for violence, is there a place in time and history for where these instructions were to be obeyed, or are they left open-ended? Could it possibly be that it is in fact the jihadists, such as ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Jamaat Islamiyah, who are properly interpreting the Quran and are acting accordingly, while it is actually the moderates who are the liberals? Hence why we are not seeing the top Islamic scholars being interviewed by the media. One resource I want to recommend that deals with the issue of jihadism and Quran interpretation would be an interview R.C. Sproul did with Abdul Salib that was on Renewing Your Mind Radio. I'll put a link to it in the description below. But if there are indeed books, videos, or articles by respected and trusted Islamic scholars that deal with the issue of Quran interpretation in relation to the teachings of extremists, please put a link in the comments below, because I'd be desperate to see it. I think it would be an interesting study. Until then, please tap that subscribe button, click on a like, post a comment, and feel free to share this vid to get the word out. But on a positive note, God bless you all, and have a happy new year. I honestly think 2017's gonna be awesome. Talk to you soon.
Are you alone? Huh? Who are you with? Huh?